President Zelensky signs bill legalizing medical cannabis in Ukraine. This is a fascinating turn of events because they're in the middle of a war and they're legalizing cannabis before America is. But let's check out the details. Millions of patients and military veterans could stand to benefit from a new law officially legalizing medical cannabis in Ukraine on Tuesday, less than a year after the bill's first reading in the Verkhovna Rada, which is the Ukrainian parliament. President Vladimir Zelensky signed the legislation permitting the prescription of cannabis-based medicines for conditions including pain, cancer, and PTSD. Both Zelensky and Health Minister Viktor Lyashko have publicly expressed their support for the change in law, claiming it could help the country deal with trauma of 2 years of Russian war. You know what could also help with trauma of a war? Ending the war. But I digress. The Ministry of Health has estimated that the number of people in need of these statements has tripled since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. I don't know how they got that number, but with up to 6 million people now living with not only PTSD and other mental health issues, but chronic pain related to their injuries and cancer. In a Facebook post from June 7th, 2022, Lyashko said there was no time to wait to approve the bill that would allow more patients to access a necessary treatment for cancer and PTSD resulting from the war. But activists and campaigners had already been pushing for policy change for several years, with 2 previous bills proving unsuccessful. Spurred on by the conflict and the impending mental health crisis, the bill passed its first reading in the Verkhovna Rada in July 2023. Despite delays to the second reading due to a large number of amendments put forward by opposition parties, in December 2023, officials voted to approve the bill with 248 MPs voting in favor of the legalization. Now, this is medical cannabis, not recreational cannabis. Just want to specify that this is medical, not recreational. Quote, undoubtedly, the adoption of the law of the legalization of medical cannabis is a great victory for the entire patient community, said Irina Rachinska from the campaign group Patients of Ukraine over email. Patients, the public, doctors, the military, and activists fought for this decision for more than 5 years. Interesting, they put military ahead of activists, but they are fighting. According to the estimates of the Ministry of Health, 6 million patients in Ukraine currently need medicines based on medical cannabis. So based on their medicines prescribing for medical cannabis, there are 6 million people in Ukraine that have cancer, PTSD, or something that they need treatment for medical cannabis, which is crazy. These include patients with cancer, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's diseases, as well as military and civilians with symptoms of PTSD. Rachinska added, this number is constantly increasing because Russia continues to attack Ukraine every day. The number of victims increases, and every day without medicine, these people experience unbearable pain, both physical and psychological. The need for such drugs continues to grow every day. Now, I'm not an expert on Russia and Ukraine history or even current events. I do know I'm anti-war, period. So anything that helps veterans of war or ending wars, I am completely for. And I am full transparency, anti-interventionist and pacifist in heart. Growing evidence for cannabis in treatment of PTSD. In jurisdictions where medical cannabis has been legal for some time, chronic pain, cancer-related symptoms, and PTSD are among the most common reasons it's prescribed, with experts believing it's got therapeutic potential in these hard-to-treat conditions. Preliminary evidence suggests that THC found in cannabis may be advantageous as treatment for stress and trauma-related psychiatric conditions. It could play a role in mitigating common symptoms such as intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, and nightmares. I will say, I don't have PTSD from war or anything like that, but my dreams, when I stopped smoking cannabis for the month of January, you can go check out that video of my reaction, I had the craziest dreams. So it is true that when you smoke, And I have buddies from the military that will attest to this too. When they smoke, they don't have dreams or nightmares or anything like that. In a 2020 study, researchers state these preliminary data suggest that THC modulates threat-related processing in trauma-exposed individuals with PTSD, which may prove advantageous as a pharmacological approach to treating stress and trauma-related psychopathology. Meanwhile, individuals with PTSD are understood to have lower levels of the neurotransmitter anandamide, an endocannabinoid that binds to CB1 receptors in the body and interacts with the cannabinoid CBD. Low anandamide levels can cause the brain to increase the number of CB1 receptors. The use of medical cannabis is also not uncommon among the veteran population. A 2019 study on veterans in the U.S. found the majority reported using cannabinoids as a substitute for either alcohol, tobacco, prescription medications, or illicit substances. Another reason why we haven't legalized cannabis yet. They just listed all the industries that are going to take a massive hit. Alcohol, tobacco, and pain medications, pills, basically, opioids, are the three largest that are going to take a hit when cannabis is legalized, either medical or recreational or both. In a separate 2023 survey of over 500 U.S. military veterans, medicinal cannabis was found to improve quality of life and reduce unwanted use of other substances, including alcohol and other prescription medications. Many veterans and civilians are also living with chronic pain as a result of their injuries. Hanna Hlushenko, an independent European medical cannabis advisor who's been working with the Ukrainian Medical Cannabis Association, said during a phone interview, quote, "I'm always communicating the fact that military people need it. We are not only talking about PTSD. And 80% of cases for which cannabis is prescribed is for pain symptoms. People are losing limbs in the war. It's about helping military people who are living in severe chronic pain. First medicines expected by the end of 2024. Now that the bill has been officially signed into law, over the next 6 months, Ukraine's ministries will outline the necessary legislation to allow for the importation of cannabis-based medicines into the country, as well as domestic cultivation of medical cannabis. Very interesting, because they say earlier they need it now, they need help, immediate relief, but yet they've delayed the distribution for 6 months. Doesn't seem like it's very urgent, or maybe 6 months is their timeline for ending the war. I don't know, but it seems like if you need something right now, you don't wait 6 months. While it will take several years to establish a domestic supply chain to meet demand, Hlushenko predicts that the first imported products will be available for prescription in the second half of 2024. I wonder which countries they're going to be importing cannabis from. My guess would be maybe Canada, Israel, Germany, or something like that. It's going to be very interesting. Watch out for that. I'll try to keep you covered on where they actually import from. And it says that domestic production will be available soon. Domestically, Ukraine is one of the, if not the largest world suppliers of wheat for the world, for bread and everything else like that. So who knows how much of that has been destroyed because of the war, and now they need a new cash crop. Medical cannabis and cannabis seems like a good cash crop of the future, like we say here all the time. It might seem optimistic, but the process is moving faster than I expected. My estimate is that the first products will be on the market by Q3 or Q4 this year. The political will is there and is explained by the need, the amount of patients, and by the war. Patients hoping to access these treatments will need a prescription for a cannabis-based medicine from their doctor, and products will be dispensed by one of 200 licensed pharmacies throughout the country. So the government is going to dispense at government-licensed dispensaries, 200 in the entire country. Who knows that processing for getting a license and everything like that. It's not America, so I don't know how that works there. But I'm guessing there will be a little bit of corruption in that, just based on Ukraine's history. Hlushenko is also working with the Ukrainian Medical Cannabis Association on growing education and awareness of the therapeutic use of cannabis among Ukrainian doctors. Sounds similar to what we're doing here. We are planning educational events for doctors, she added. Some of them are skeptical and some are very open, but whatever a new market opens, doctors always have concerns, and want to see the evidence that it works. That last paragraph is indicative of what's going on in the entire world with doctors. Because they haven't studied or been taught about the benefits of cannabis, medical cannabis, and there hasn't been many public studies that have come out for them to read and memorize and research, you're having to do this flash course of education for these doctors, whether it's VA doctors, regular doctors, children, not children, but for epilepsy and cancer and all that stuff in adolescence. They're having to do this crash course, and they're realizing all these benefits and things that have been suppressed for years. So it's leading to a big, big change in mentality for the doctor community. But this is very interesting. Ukraine legalized medical marijuana before America did, before a lot of other countries did. They're in the middle of a war. So it's interesting. Keep an eye out for where they import from and how long it takes them to domestically grow it. But yay, I know there's a lot of bad things and negative things going on in Ukraine right now, but in my opinion, this is a very big positive because of what it can do for veterans. So while I don't necessarily agree what is going on with the war in Ukraine and Russia, and I want peace for everybody everywhere, this is good news. So congratulations to Ukraine. Stay blessed, and don't forget to tip your bud tenders.